Hi, this is Carrie, and I'm going to go through some of the pros and cons of home education. I started home educating in the year 2000 until the year 2014. Initially, my husband and I decided to withdraw our youngest son from school because he's autistic. And then a year or so later, we decided to withdraw our eldest son because our youngest son was doing so well at home. So I'm just going to go through some of the pros and the cons of home education. First of all, we go through the pros. You are in control of what your children are learning because you choose the curriculum you want to follow. You choose your method of how you educate your children. And you're not stuck with a one-size-fits-all curriculum, so you don't have to follow the national curriculum. And your children can then learn according to their age, ability and aptitude, and not according to where the government and educational experts say your child should be for their age, because not every child grows and develops at the same rate. And they learn at their own pace. So you may have a child who's really gifted in a certain area and can really flourish with this, or you may have a child who struggles in certain areas. So they can learn, as I say, at their own pace. You or your children can choose their daily routines and goals. They're not stuck to a school timetable. And setting goals is a really good habit to get into. Lessons can be tailored to your children's specific learning styles. Different children learn in different ways. Like, I'm a visual learner, so I find that charts and all of that sort of thing help me out learning. But my youngest son, who I was saying about earlier on, is more of a kinesthetic learner. So he likes doing, he's always on the go. So you can tailor the lessons around your children's specific learning style. And you can freely develop your children's strengths, gifts and talents. So if they're particularly gifted, for example, in music, you can focus more on their musical gifts. I'm not saying you don't teach other subjects, but you can help them develop in the areas where they're the strongest. And learning needs not be inside all day. On sunny days, you could sit in the garden and work. When I was home educating, I had a table in the garden with garden chairs, and we used to do work in the garden. And it was wonderful because there was a lot of fresh air. And yeah, it was just great to get the sunshine, and then the kiddies can run around in the garden. If you've got a garden, of course. If you haven't, a bit more difficult. But if you have, it's a wonderful opportunity to get outside and actually make the most of the sunshine. Oh, you can go on a field trip. You can go on a few field trips. We used to do lessons in the morning, and then sometimes the afternoon we used to go to the park, or we used to go to the local castle, or just, you're free to do what you want. It's fantastic. Teach your children everyday skills like shopping in real life settings. So when you go shopping, you can, for example, you can give your child a list, and you can go looking for the food, or they can go looking for the food that's on their list. It's a really good practical way of developing the skills that they will need in life. And then there's the family time, and for my husband and I, this is important. So we found it really, really good to have more time together. And also, you can choose when you have your holidays and breaks. You don't have to be stuck to the government guidelines or the local education authorities guidelines of when you have your school holidays. You can have them when you want. Of course, at the moment we're in a COVID lockdowns, but when they're lifted and you can go on holiday, you could go on holiday outside of the normal school holidays without having to give a letter to the school, because obviously you are the school. And you can know what your children are eating. I know that's maybe sounds a bit trivial, that's a little smiley face there, but you can know what they're eating. And if you want them to have a healthy diet, you know they're going to have a healthy diet and they're not going to be eating chips and whatever else for their school dinners. You also know what your children are doing. I didn't put that one in, but because it did sound a little bit totalitarian, to be honest, but you do know what they're doing. Little smiley face, tongue in cheek. And you know your children aren't being bullied, so you know they're in a safe environment at home. And I don't necessarily just mean being bullied by their peers. Could be, if a teacher doesn't like a child, sorry to all the teachers who may be watching this out here, but we are only human. Yeah, so they're in a safe environment at home, and it's also very rewarding. I find it really, really rewarding to home educating both my children. You see them grow and develop, and it's just fantastic. There's also the aspect of discipline as well. And although maybe that sounds a bit harsh, bringing in discipline, you can discipline your children how you feel is right within the law, of course. So yeah, family time is very important. Right, now we go through the cons of home education. It is a massive commitment. You have to realize at the start, at the get-go, that it is massive. It's a massive time commitment, and you can't just go swanning off out to work 9 till 5, because you've got that, as I say, commitment with your children. It's also can be expensive depending on what resources you use, whether you go on field trips where you have to pay money to get into places. I think a lot of places now may actually offer discounts for home education groups. I know they were starting bringing that in when I was coming to the end of my time home educating my children. So, you might be able to get together with people, other home educators, and have a discount that way. The older the children, the more challenging their work becomes, obviously, because they're a higher level. And, that might be okay for some people, but for others, they might find it a bit more difficult to keep up with their older children's work. The social contact as well could be a bit of an issue. They have less time with school friends, of course, unless you can get together with a home educating family or other home educating families, and you can meet up. We used to have a sports afternoon every Thursday, and then that's every week. And then once a month, or all day Thursday, we used to have a group called A Space, where home educating families would meet together, and we would do work in the morning and then activities in the afternoon. And the kind of activities we did were things like pottery, and we had a forensics expert come around to show the children fingerprinting and all of that sort of thing to do with forensics. And they went on field trips visiting the air ambulance station, things like that, police station. Yeah, so there are times when you can have contact with other people, but obviously on an everyday situation there is less time with school friends. And of course there's no school gate chats for parents, and you're with your children or your parents for 24/7. Now I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you have to bear that in mind. So anyway, I've put some links to some organisations which deal with home education, and I'll put the links in the description box beneath this video. Okay, so there's those ones. As I say, I'll put the links in the video underneath.